making people understand that what they've done in the past, like as far as their whole life story up to here, if they're not happy with it, it's never too late to change it.
Extremely passionate about helping corporate professionals transition into entrepreneurship. So I had to share the number one thing that helped me develop as an entrepreneur, and that's the morning meetup. I joined the morning meetup specifically for the structure because I'm leaving corporate America, so I'm used to those morning huddles. We got our sales, we know what our goals are, and we get our day started. So I was missing that for 2 years before I even found the morning meetup. Now, the second thing that I really benefited from was the revenue generating activities was not necessarily a thing before 2021. Now, I had my LLC, I had my website, I had a few clients here and there, but the momentum really took off as soon as I got around like-minded individuals and people who really knew the struggles that I was already dealing with, that I could get over my fear of sales and communicating my value and putting myself out there on social media. The friends that I've developed, the mentors and the mentees that I've created relationships with, everything has really created this environment for us to thrive as entrepreneurs. So if you want to develop as an entrepreneur, you're leaving corporate America and you're trying to figure out how do I get my footing in entrepreneurship, then the morning meetup will definitely be a game changer for you. You can learn with us, you can grow with us. And I didn't even mention that we have a book club. Join us in the community. Let's get started today. You will not regret it. Welcome to another episode of the Work and Play Podcast. I'm your host, Ariel, and I have a really special guest today, Mr. Marlon Walls. How are you?
Doing wonderful. I'm so excited to be here tonight.
Listen, me too. We had to seize the moment. When the opportunity presents itself, you cannot miss it. So I had to hang on the couch. Now, the cool thing about it is we're both a part of the morning meetup. So we both get a chance to wake up to each other every single day.
I swear it's like class though. It's like you wake up every day, see the same people in your class. Hey, how you doing?
Facts.
And then just listen to the teacher the rest of the way. So. And
when you see each other in person, it's like, I know you.
I know that person. You're not a stranger.
Yeah, sure. It's straight up family. So without further ado, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I guess I'll first start off the way I do in the morning meetup every day. I run a 5-star experience for people through rental cars, teach other aspiring entrepreneurs how to achieve financial freedom by doing the same. I guess to take a backstory though, like my name is Marlon Walls, I guess. I was an engineer by day, I'm a mechanical engineer, and started transitioning to entrepreneurship. So now I got into the rental car space, and one thing we pride ourselves in is the 5-star experience, because we understand that people are not renting out just your car as a commodity. We can actually rent them an experience in total. So the experience is what's going to keep people coming back and make people refer you to other people, refer you to their friends, their family, and things like that. So that's where that comes from, the 5-star experience part.
So it's kind of like more like taking pride in the rental car experience, where a lot of people, it's just the revenue play. You guys are more so pushing the experience as opposed to like just any old rental car.
Right, because we say this all the time, that anybody can rent out a car. Like, we're not just doing that. When you come to us, you're coming for the experience. It's like going to Chick-fil-A versus McDonald's. Both of them are going to give you a sandwich, or they're going to give you your food, but you're going to get an experience along with going to Chick-fil-A. Yep. You're going to get my pleasure. You're going to get yes ma'am, thank yous, all that. They're going to give you a certain level of experience. They're going to make you feel important while you're there. Right. And that's going to make you want to come back to them, even though you may spend more money with them.
I feel it 100%. So when it comes to your experience, what are some of the like levels of success you've seen in like the rental car space that a lot of us don't even know, us regulars?
I can just talk about my experience here. Like when I got into the car here today, I just started comparing how the host presented their car to me versus how I would have presented that same car to somebody else. So like the first thing I pointed out was that we never give a car away without a full tank of gas. The car today had 3/4 of a tank. Now I would say, I'm not talking down on dude or anything. Like he has a 5-star rating for himself. Yeah, so overall 5 stars. You're a good dude. But I just noticed that there's levels to the 5 stars as well. Like everybody, like there's levels to everything. So I know for a fact people are going to come to people have left reviews for us that says, I'm not renting from nobody else on the platform. If I'm renting out on Turo, I'm renting out from Marlon because their experience is top notch, and that's what we're always going after. So that's kind of the standard that we set for ourselves, and I know there's people that we can continue to learn from too. Yeah. Because we're always learning, like, how can we continue to deliver that experience? How can we continue to innovate within our business? So we're always looking to learn more as well from other people.
Absolutely. And how many cars do you have right now? Because I remember a TikTok you shared. You had the whole little, like you were like rare occasion, and then you showed all the cars. So at this point, how many cars do you have?
So we have 11 now. We
What?
Yeah, we purchased 12 in total this year. Well, not this year. We purchased 12 in total since we started. We actually purchased 11 this year.
Okay.
So we had our one last year, and then we purchased 11 this year. And we sold 2, and we also got our first joint venture last month.
With what? Like, can you talk about that?
Yep. So a joint venture, that's essentially when somebody that sees us running our business, they want to partner. Like somebody says, okay, I don't know how to run the business, but I know that you know how to run it, and I have a car that I want to run out on Turo.
Got it.
I don't know how to do it myself, so can we partner up together where I'll give you my car. So like for them, they give me their car, and we put it into our business, and we run their car through our business. Like we rent out their car for them.
Yeah.
We pay them a passive check per month.
Got it.
And
That's a nice business.
Yep. So now they don't have to do any other work. All they do is provide a car to us, and they're able to make passive income just like that.
Yeah. I did something like that when I was in Airbnb. Like, someone already had the lease to an apartment, and I basically just rented it out. And on their end, they just got upside. They didn't have to worry about anything.
Exactly.
And on my side, it was all the headache. So
and that's the big benefit of it, is that you don't go through any other headache. You don't have to clean the car ever. You don't have to worry about how the person brings the car back. Like some people may smoke in the car. Some people, like, you may get a flat tire. You don't have to fix anything. Nothing but collecting a check at the end of the month. Because
y'all get to take care of that.
Correct.
Now, what made you go into the Turo space?
That's a good question. So that would take you back to the story, though, because you start getting into it now. So I guess going back, I have a podcast. Well, first of all, I have a podcast called Money Monopolizers. We've been running that podcast for about 2 years, I guess almost 2.5 years now. And the goal of it was like to teach people about financial literacy, teach people like the things that we are not taught growing up in schools and in our households, especially for people that look like us that are coming in through high school or through college, going to the real world for the first time and not knowing the most basic things about how to live life financially.
Yeah.
So we were teaching them basic financial literacy, businesses that you can get started up in. Primarily, we start off in real estate, but we had started interviewing different guests on the podcast. We talked to several business owners. One of them was a guy who did the rental car business.
Okay.
And so this might have been like back in, I don't know, March. I don't know, like I would say like midway through 2019.
Okay.
During that time, I was at Purdue. I was getting my master's degree in mechanical engineering. So during that time, I was like, I can't start anything right now because I got to write a thesis. I got to go to class. I got homework to do. And we were still doing real estate at the same time. I said, there's no way I'm about to add that to my plate.
Yeah.
And we were just hearing business after business people were able to build 6-figure businesses. People were able to be full-time entrepreneurs. And we're like, wow, there's so much to life beyond just engineering, beyond just like real estate. Like there's different ways that we can build build our income up a little bit faster, then transition from entrepreneurship and then put our money into like long-term assets like real estate. So I was like, once I'm done at Purdue, I used to say it out every day. I cannot wait to be done. Not because Purdue was bad, but because I knew that where I was going was different. Yeah. So once I leave Purdue, I'm going to start some type of business. I know rental cars is one of them, but I got like 9 more on the long side. Not even on the back burner, on the front burner. I'm starting all of them. I want everything.
That's what your mindset
This is my mentality. I'm getting into something and I'm starting as soon as I get back. So in July of 2020, got our rental. No, it wasn't actually. So I was looking around to see what I want to get into. So at that point, we had heard so many different people on the podcast that I was like, okay, I'm about to start stock options. I'm about to get a rental car. I got me a mobile home. We got some rental properties. I'm about to start a pest control business. I wanted to get tow trucking. I got an app going. I'm doing t-shirts. I'm telling you, every last one of those things I just named, try to do all of them in 2020.
How many of them are lasting now?
Only real estate and rental cars.
Okay, gotcha.
Still do real estate. Rental cars, that's the primary focus though. So we got the one rental car in 2020. That's the reason we only had one, because I was diverted into way too many different things.
Got it.
And so we got that one rental car. It worked very well for us. We just put it on hire car at the time. We didn't even know I think we didn't really know about Turo that much, or like I don't think I was as fond of Turo because I hadn't used the platform as a host, and I knew that hire car got longer term renters. So that's the platform I veered toward back then.
Okay.
And then in December of I guess January of 2021 is when I decided. Well, got into the morning meetup. Dave was like, I think he had just talked about a sermon. He did like a conversation about focusing and how people in entrepreneurship want to divert into everything and they never build up anything substantial. He said that he cut off a 6-figure stream of income to focus in on one thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I got one mobile home over there. These T-shirts, I only sold 2. So it's not even hard to cut off these businesses.
Right, it's like process of elimination.
And it's like, which one I got the rental car going with my dad. That's actually successful so far. So in 2021, let's lock in on rental cars. And I said, we need to get 10 cars by the end of this year. We had 10 cars by July.
Listen, that's what happens when you set goals. Exactly. Okay, so one more thing on the Turo, and we got to get into your journey, but so for those of us who don't know what type of revenue you can actually see when you go into a Turo business, like from one car compared to 11, I'm sure there's a difference in revenue, but like what's the, I guess, range of income that a person could actually make if this was a part of like their side gig or a part of their like full-time entrepreneurship?
So there's varying degrees on like how much you can make from the business, and it really depends on the type of car that you can get in your market, not the type of car you want, but the type of car you can get, because every market would not demand the same car. You can't get a Lamborghini and like, let's say Nebraska, for instance. Nothing against Nebraska, but they're not going to be as mainstream as like in Atlanta, or Miami or something like that. So the Lambos may go out like crazy out here in Atlanta, but not everywhere. So
$20.
Right, exactly. So I would say for us, where we are in Houston, we like to target economy cars because a lot of people like to travel into Houston as a tourist attraction, but they're not necessarily looking for like the higher end cars unless they're like in specific pockets in Houston. Okay. So economy cars usually do real well, and those bring in for us around $1,000 a month each. So to multiply that over 10, now we're looking at 5-figure income months just from the rental cars.
Not bad. Yeah. And then what's the typical cost on a vehicle?
It really depends on the current situation in the market. Like right now, used cars are a little bit higher because of the fact that there are a lack of new cars. It's all about supply and demand. But I would say like our car notes it's also based on your personal credit or your business credit. Like whatever interest rate you can get with the cars, that's going to really dictate like the car note that you may have, and if you put down payment. So it really can range based on all of those varying factors. Okay. But we like to, our current numbers, like we know that we can bring in around $1,000 a month for a car. We don't want our car notes to be anywhere above $350. Like that's typically like a number that we like to look at.
Yeah, that's $650 you get to take back.
Correct. And what's it called? It usually varies. Like really, most of them are not that high. Most of them for us are like around the 220 range. But like some of them we have pushed up a little bit higher, just because like we wanted to get more cars back then. But like right now, I would say that we're really looking to do more joint ventures because we just want to continue to expand that way rather than just leveraging just what we're doing, like just with our personal credit, me and my dad. We're looking to like start expanding to like having more people that can help us grow our fleet while we help them get passive income as well. Yeah,
that's who not how, right?
Exactly. I mean, seriously.
I wonder how many books we're going to refer to while we're on this cast.
For sure.
I think what's dope is like, I feel like we can gauge our growth based on the book that we started. I know you were in the morning meetup before me, because I remember...
when did you come in?
In January.
Really?
I think you were in I feel like you were either in November or December.
December.
Am I right?
It's like December 20th or something.
Because you were talking about... You were probably one of the first voices I heard where we were reading Richest Man in Babylon. And just kind of remembering your voice and like... getting into the groove and seeing how everything was going. I think I got the PDF. That was the only book I ever got. Cause y'all, the word is shitty. Y'all shitted on everybody with the PDF. And I was like, Oh, they not playing. Let me go ahead. I never
No.
bought the PDF after that. I mean, I didn't buy it. It was just a link in the chat. So,
that can be a whole topic in itself, because we're trying to teach people how to be readers in the group. Like, because, you know, there's a saying that says, if you want to hide something from a black person, put it in a book.
Put it in a book.
Because of the fact that we'll go buy a new flat screen TV, but won't go buy a book that will change our life.
Facts. Yeah. So I feel like we're becoming something that we've never seen before.
No doubt.
And the reason I'm even mentioning that is because you've had a whole life before Turo, right? It's only been about a year that you've been like successful in the business, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and before that, mechanical engineering at Purdue. Like, first of all, I didn't know we shared the fact that we were both in school and in entrepreneurship at the same time.
Yes, Lord.
Because your girl has been struggling, but you have a whole career, you have a whole journey before that. So when you were younger, what did young Marlon want to be?
I will be as transparent as possible. Young Marlon didn't know what he wanted to be. Young Marlon knew some things that he was good at. Mm-hmm. I was good at math, probably really good at math, science, and I enjoyed working with my hands. But I never knew where I wanted to be. Reason I picked engineering was just process of elimination. Gotcha. Not necessarily saying this is what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. One of my biggest things that I talk about is understanding that kids are not going to know what they want to be if they don't ever have the experiences.
Yeah.
Only reason I knew I like working with my hands is because in high school we took a class called construction tech, where I was able to it's like a wood shop class. Mm-hmm. Where I was like, I like building stuff. Mm-hmm. I would not have known that without the experience. So having the expectation that a kid was supposed to know what they want to do when they grow up, what they want to be, is very unrealistic if you haven't given them any experiences to figure that out.
That's a fact.
So engineering was something that it was a good answer. And that's kind of what led me to going into engineering, is because when somebody says, what do you want to be? Oh, a mechanical engineer. Oh yeah, it's a great field to get into. I like just hearing that response more than anything else. And at least I feel like I have some sense of figuring out what I want to be when I grow up. And I just went that route. But I would tell you that I did not know the job that I worked, as far as the job description, mm-hmm. I had not been exposed to that particular thing. So I was just a mechanical design engineer. Okay. The designing portion of it, I wasn't exposed to that until junior year of college. Okay. So that's age 20 probably. I did not see the actual thing that I liked doing within engineering until age 20. Okay. So it just took a level of exposure, because I took a class that involved a little bit of it's called CAD, computer aided drafting, mm-hmm. where you can model up whatever you want to. Like you want to model up this piano over here, for instance. You can model that up, and then you can make a prototype of it, like 3D printing, and then you can actually go get it built. Mm-hmm. That was interesting to me, because now I can go from an idea over to the actual creation of that particular idea. So I really like that concept. Didn't know that in high school though.
You didn't know that in high school, but the field, the buzzword of mechanical engineers, I used to have a homegirl who would be like, I want to be a marine biologist, mm-hmm. right? And it was just the prestige that comes with it. They were like, oh, she's going to be a smart person. It. So I get that. It resonates, right? And then you get to college, and of course we don't get to our master's classes, and we don't get to our major classes until junior year. Exactly. So you find out, okay, well, this is a part of engineering that I liked, right? Mm-hmm. So before then, you said you knew what you were good at. Yep. So how were you an active explorer? You said you weren't really, you didn't really experience a lot. So what did you know about who you were at the time? This is one thing I learned about myself, is that I'm very consistent and disciplined in what I'm doing at that time. Mm-hmm. So I would say the first piece of consistency that I realized, the first time I realized I was really good at consistency and being disciplined, was back in 7th grade. So I guess backstory on that too. My dad, we all moved from Detroit to Texas when I was in 5th grade. Mm-hmm. 6th grade, my dad wanted me to be in football, because football is king in Texas. Okay.
And I didn't want to be in football because football was not something we did in Detroit. And I was a very little skinny kid and I had no desire or aspiration to do that. I was like, nah, I'm good. And so he put me in football in 6th grade. I was like, nah, I'm about to play with this grass on the sideline instead. 7th grade, didn't play on a school team. And this is when my dad told me, every night before you go to bed, do 2 sets of 25 push-ups and sit-ups.
Okay.
And every week, just add 1. Like I said, this is the first time I realized that I was consistent and disciplined, because for the next 4 years straight into junior year of high school, added 1 every day, every week.
How many did you get up to?
3 sets of 115 every night before I went to bed.
3 sets of 115 push-ups.
And sit-ups. So I'm talking, and I had it down to a T. 9:12 p.m. I'll finish at 9:30. 18 minutes it took.
Are you serious?
Every single night.
So you developed this consistency, this discipline.
Mm-hmm.
You weren't really interested in football. At the time, you knew you were interested in the buzzword of like engineering.
Mm-hmm.
But like, what if you were to like sneak around and do something? What was that thing that you were doing?
I'll tell you. So one thing, I'm not very explorative. Like,
Wow.
Like I would never like try to seek it out. Like I said, I was good at focusing in on what I was doing at that time, because I like, even in college, I was a 4.0 student cumulative. So every semester I was a 4.0 student. Mm-hmm. And that was in engineering physics. This was back in undergrad when I was in engineering physics. I think I said that.
You did what you had to do.
So I'm good. Whatever you put me into, I'm just going to lock in and do that. Mm-hmm. And that's what opens doors for me more so than anything else, rather than me saying, I see where I want to go and I'm going to backtrack to figure out what I need to be doing today. I was never that person at the time. I would always say, I'm going to do what I need to do today, and the next door will be revealed to me afterwards, because I'm going to just focus in on right now. Yeah. So I could lock in on whatever I was doing at that moment really well. Mm-hmm. But what I lacked was the bigger picture of seeing where am I trying to go, and then letting that dictate my activity today.
Yeah. So when would you say that lever? Because sometimes I feel the same way. I'm a bit of like, I'll envision kind of where I want to go, but I'm very much more of like, let me just be in the moment. I'll run the play all day.
Right. Exactly.
If you tell me what the play is, I will run it. That's my personality, right? Mm-hmm. And I think I probably learned that. I think I probably learned that sometime around 24. When did you learn that about yourself, and when did you start leveraging it for your good?
I would say I know I can leverage it for my good, but I saw that as a weakness for me as well. Like in the sense that as an entrepreneur in particular, I need to know where I'm going in order to dictate my today's activity. And I would say I literally just had that revelation a couple weeks ago. It's been progressive throughout this year, but I had a big revelation this past couple of weeks when it came to setting like goals as an entrepreneur, because doing like what I was doing before, saying that I'm just going to do activity today and hope that produces a result for tomorrow, that is not the way to go as an entrepreneur, because of the fact that, and if you want to hit like revenue, if you want to hit a certain amount of revenue for a month, you can't just say, okay, I'm gonna just go sell 10 t-shirts and hopefully I make $1,000.
Right. Like,
that doesn't work like that. You need to say, I want to make $1,000, and then backtrack to figure out what is the average cost of a t-shirt, and let that tell you how many shirts do I need to sell within this month to hit my $1,000. That's the difference between setting what's called a revenue goal versus setting an activity goal. Revenue goal is going to dictate your activity versus your activity dictating your revenue.
Marlon, the fact that you just said that, now I understand how you have seen such great success in Turo. Once you got the play, you recognize what the revenue goal was, the activity that it took to get Turo up there, and you just machined it out. I could just see you banging it out, like you just like, and it's do it. Your notes are fire. Like, okay. So I'm all over the place, but you seem to take to structured roles, and And when I think about the fact that you have kind of made a name for yourself when it comes to notes, what drove you to do that part about the morning meetup? Like when did you just say, you know what, I'm about to like bust out every single one of these notes?
I think these stories are going to be off the wall for y'all. Because first of all, nobody knows that I'm like a note taker besides the morning meetup.
Really?
So I'm like,
You didn't sell your notes while you were in college?
No, like nobody sees me as a note taker but the morning meetup, just to be honest. So that small section of the world knows me as a note taker.
Yeah.
Anybody outside of them knows me as something else based on what they've seen me throughout my journey. But
the top 3 responses that I get when I ask, why do you want to leave corporate America, are that you want financial freedom, you want to own your own time, and you want to build a legacy for this generation and generations to come. Now, this is not a solo job. In order to transition from your 9-to-5 into entrepreneurship, it's going to take community and it's going to take resources. And I've created the community of pioneers who are going to wrap around you and help you make that transition successfully. So if you're interested in leaving your job, go ahead and click that information below. Let's get into the community and let's transition from your 9-to-5 into entrepreneurship successfully. Now let's get back to the episode.
First of all, my granny taught me how to type when I was really young. That was one thing about it. So I never forget the day where she had the fat back computer, like the old prehistoric one.
Yes.
She was looking at me and she had said ASDFG8. I was like, and you not even looking at the screen? Oh shoot! Yo,
I want to do that.
But my granny, she knew how to type without even looking. Like, so she ended up teaching me how to type when I was really young. And I don't know, I was probably like 7 at the time, to be honest. So I would at least credit a lot of my typing skills to that. But I would credit like me in the morning meetup like leaving notes. That story is crazy too, because I didn't start leaving the notes I didn't start taking notes because of the fact that I wanted to leave it for everybody else. I was taking the notes because I don't pay attention when people are talking. So I'm a very bad auditory learner. Well, I have notoriously been a bad auditory learner in the past. Like I would be listening to a message, it would sound great, and I would just start randomly dozing off and thinking about something else. That's just how my brain works with that. So I need to either see words or I need to see be like acting during those type of lessons.
Yeah.
So me typing fast, I'll just be typing the notes. And sometimes they would say something profound. I'm like, oh, that was good. Like, copy that, put that in the chat again.
I love it.
And so so I started doing that more frequently. And they're like, bro, Marlon leaving some fire notes. Thanks for leaving that. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I can just like leave the notes in the chat for you. I don't mind. So it's like nothing for me. I just type it up anyway, just copy and paste it. And over time, that developed into Marlon's the Note Goat. So
Facts.
That's really how it happened.
It's funny because out of all the things that you've said so far, the interest that your grandmama was typing, you said granny.
Yeah, that's granny for me.
Yeah, the fact that granny was typing without looking, it sparked an interest in you, right? So when I think about the things that you're like good at, the things that you're exploring, that was one of those that wasn't pressed upon you, didn't necessarily have social value in it. It didn't have prestige. You really were just kind of interested in it.
Yeah. And that, I would say that, like I said, that's the experiences piece that I was talking about earlier. You have to, like, kids have to experience things to figure out what they do and don't like. Like, I like type. I don't want to say I'm like a passionate typer, but I like what it can do, I guess, in a way. Like, I can type up something really quickly. I can like convey a message through typing it up. So yeah, that's one thing. I was just interested in like how she was able to do that without looking and just being able to still convey that message. Same thing with a mechanical design engineer. I just like going from that ideation through CAD modeling to creation and like 3D printing or like actually getting a piece created. So
yeah,
and that just came through experiences of like seeing it for the first time and saying, oh, that's something that's pretty cool. Never saw it before. So I couldn't tell you I liked it before, but now I see it.
I got you. So what was your relationship with entrepreneurship growing up? Were your parents entrepreneurs?
That's actually a good question because ironically, my mom has always been an entrepreneur. My dad, he worked like really a 6 to 6, not no 9 to 5. Like he works 12 hour shifts. But my mom, she was in cosmetology. So she did hair for a living for 30 years straight. She actually just retired from her 9 to 5 a week before I did mine. And that was so.
Y'all were on the same path together. Did you celebrate?
Oh yeah, so no, I mean she definitely celebrated. Like they gave her a whole like a going away party at her job and everything, like balloons and everything around her door and everything. But yeah, it was very rewarding because I think I might have had a lot of influence on that because when I left Purdue last July, I ended up moving back with my parents because of the fact that I was looking for a house that I could live in to do what's called house hacking, where I would essentially get my mortgage paid for by like renting out my house as opposed to living in it and just like living in it by myself. So during that time, it was like a year's long span where I was just living with them. And over the course of the majority of that time, they were just being exposed to like how I had developed personally while I was getting my master's degree at Purdue. Because I've been doing a lot of personal development, reading books, listening to podcasts. And when I got back, they were like, yo, this dude is a whole different person now.
That's
like,
amazing.
Man. And especially when I got to the morning meetup in December, it was exponential as far as like the mentality that I had because we're in there 5 days a week. So I'm just learning every single day. And I'm teaching them new things about entrepreneurship and how I'm thinking today. And I think that really motivated my mom now to like want to pursue something different because she had been doing cosmetology for 30 years. And she was also doing it's called Paparazzi. It's like a network marketing company that sells jewelry. And so she wants to pursue that now as opposed it really based on the pandemic. Because the pandemic, she couldn't even go into her job anymore. And she's like, okay, now I need to do something else that doesn't require me like actually physically seeing people if I don't need to. So she's always been an entrepreneur, but I never really clicked to me until like far later on when I was like, oh, that's been entrepreneurship this whole time in a way. Like as far as like not working for somebody else, creating your own schedule. So it definitely runs in our blood too. And that I didn't realize until like recently.
That's funny. I think because when we grew up, I don't think entrepreneurship was like the buzzword as it is now. So it's interesting, like the people who I know who have had entrepreneurs as like parents or guardians somehow find their way to entrepreneurship and like, I never really knew that's what I was doing all this time. My mama was teaching me that. So you decided to go into work as a mechanical engineer. First of all, what was it like being a mechanical engineer? Like day to day, going to work? You found what you liked as a junior in school, but did you like the actual work on a day to day basis?
So to be honest, I did. I'm not going to be the story that says I hated my job. It's just that I think my purpose was different. My purpose for the world was not necessarily to be an engineer. Like I told you, I think that's one of my gifts is that I can pretty much do good at whatever I do, whatever I'm put into, I'm gonna do good in it by just giving my 100% effort. So engineering, I enjoyed the work, especially because I found I was doing what I had saw that I liked back in junior in college. I was doing that same thing, mechanical design, engineering work, but the passion wasn't necessarily there as far as how it is for entrepreneurship and how I want to impact the world. And so like I said, I have nothing negative to say about what I was doing. It's just that I just saw a greater purpose for my life.
I feel you. But one of the things that you really speak about in your brand, right, is helping people reach that financial freedom. I think what happens a lot, though, is people are afraid.
Yes, very much so.
And what was cool so earlier in the morning meetup, you were speaking on a Clubhouse talk. And there was an older woman who raised her hand so you can answer her question. And she was like, okay, so for us older people, like, what do we do? How do we change our lives, right? So as you found your purpose, is it easier for you to like speak this truth to folks who are our age? Or do you find that like you have clients of like all ages and people are like surpassing their fears and forgetting that whole like job security thing? What's been your experience in helping people in that?
That is a great question because I always intended on like helping out younger people, but I think I actually attract a lot of older people because I think I have like a mature mentality compared to most people that's my age. So I think older people actually are navigate towards me naturally. And I think I get a lot of practice by talking to my parents, talking to my granny, talking to my auntie. They have seen this transformation happen slowly but surely. And I've always been like communicating with them, telling them how I'm thinking differently now. And I really have a passion for making people understand that what they've done in the past, like as far as their whole life story up to here, if they're not happy with it, it's never too late to change it. Because you may say that you're too old now, but what if so let's say you're 60 right now and you want to pursue something totally different. Who said that you don't live until 100? That's 40 more years. The success that we've had in the rental car business or within entrepreneurship, it's been within 1 year. So why can't at age 61 you be living the life that you want to live?
That's a fact.
What about 65? Give yourself 5 years of doing that. Now where are you ending up at? Because we see things as like, oh, it's too late. Yeah, he started at 25, so he got a long way to go. You can still live the life that you want to live, and it's all about you deciding that you want to do that. It's really that word of deciding is all it takes. And it's saying that I don't care where I've been, I know where I'm going is going to be different, and I'm ready to become that person.
Yeah. You talk about, you enjoyed your job, right? But you also recognize that freedom comes with you being able to just do things that you like more. You said that your purpose is more so about helping people get to that freedom, right? So what was it that you gained, and then what was it that you lost when you decided to leave corporate?
That's another good question, and I got to think. So what do I gain? From leaving corporate, I gained a sense of responsibility on having to dictate my schedule and having to dictate how I make income. That is something that I haven't necessarily had to do before. Something that I had income coming in, but now I am in full on control of what I do on a day-to-day basis, and I have to do that consistently every single day in order to continue to put bread on the table for myself. And what do I lose? I lose a stable income. Like I've been get that same check coming in every 2 weeks. I remember, I guess it was a couple weeks ago now, that first check didn't come in. I said, "Yep, it's real."
Yeah,
it's definitely real. Like it's not coming back. Now you see you have to find a way to put money in your bank account every 2 weeks.
Were you afraid?
I like that question a lot. I was not afraid at all. And I said, if I was going to be afraid, it would have been way before the day I decided. That's because like over this year, I'm telling you, there was a whole evolution. If I would have been afraid in January of this year, I would have been afraid February of this year, even in June. But as this year continued to progress, and I continue to gain our information, I realized that there's so many different avenues to create income for myself. And I've surrounded myself with all the right people that it's inevitable of where I'm going now. It's just a matter of time in between there and now. And so I know for a fact that things that have been that people are doing, that it can work for myself. And I know based on my personality, like I said earlier, whatever I'm put into for long enough, if I just keep on going with it, I'm gonna be one of the best in it.
Yeah.
And that's just how I've always been able to operate. And I said this is gonna be no different. And lastly, I know that I'm following my purpose my purpose and God's purpose for my life, as opposed to doing something that I just did by process of elimination.
Super logical. Wouldn't that, like, literally, that would be super logical. But the cool thing about it is you got a chance to explore a lot of things. One of which is your podcast.
Yes.
You were in the podcast space kind of, earlier than the current buzz. Shoot, way before I got into the podcast game, right? And I remember I subscribed like the first time I found out you had one, because I do Spotify. And I just thought it was really cool, like the whole artwork and everything. What was it back then that sparked your interest in starting a podcast?
So it wasn't my interest at all, because at that time I was in grad school. I was at Purdue, and me and my podcast co-host, we've been friends first of all ever since 7th grade. So we grew up together. We were always both competitive. We both like wanted to be the best at whatever we did. And so we both went to college, 3.5 years. Both graduated engineering degrees. Both started corporate America in January of 2018. During that time, we both learned that we wanted to start getting into real estate. and we started having conversations about what we were learning within real estate. Started having those conversations for the next year. Both bought a house, like houses in our respective areas that we did the house hack strategy, and we just kept on having those conversations. In April, I guess March, April of 2019, his sister was talking to him, and she had said, "Why don't you and Marlon start a podcast? Like y'all talk about this stuff every day, and nobody else in your friends circle can have that conversation with y'all because they don't know it. They don't know that information."
Got you.
And so, and he brought that idea to me in April of 2019, and I was like, "Man, I got a thesis to write. I got homework to do. We doing real estate still." I'm like, it's a lot of stuff, man. But I knew at that time one thing that I was always passionate about was I wanted to help other people. Like, it's because I've been so impacted by the knowledge that we were gaining that I wanted to help other people do it. So that's where that fire was already there, and I wanted to pursue it through the podcast, and I knew that's what I would be able to do. I just had to take like a limited role in the beginning because I just didn't want to have that much commitment on my plate.
And you were at Purdue at the time.
Yep.
The interesting about it is, like, even when you started to do the podcast and you started to do your entrepreneurial endeavors, you were already on your way to your master's, right? When you think about the fact that you have this education, and of course, like, everything has its purpose, right? There's no regrets. But now that you have your master's in engineering, do you foresee any value or being able to circle back around that? Or is it just like, I did it, it's done, yay me, never again?
To be honest, this is a story that my advisor back when I was at Purdue, so as a researcher, you have an advisor, and he's very good with people. That's one thing I think that's an experience in itself. But he had mentioned one time at lunch, he was like, "So Marlon, how long do you think it'll be before you're not an engineer?" I said, "Wow." To hear that question, he says, like, it's the writing's on the wall. Like, you're not going down this path for too much longer.
Ooh.
At that time, I think I told him, like, first, I was still shocked by the question, but I think I said like 10 years would probably be it. Ended up being like 1 or 2 in reality.
Yeah.
But I guess I don't foresee myself using the degree as much because I know that there's way more impact that I can have outside of there. And like I said, even when I was first told about the podcast, when he mentioned, like, I got it mentioned to me, I was already saying that's leading me where I want to go, which is impacting people through, like, utilizing my voice. Even though I stuttered like crazy back then and I could not speak more than 5 words in a row without having to stutter or having to stop the conversation. So if anybody listens to the podcast, if you listen to episode 1 versus episode whatever we're at right now, it's a completely different person.
I want to say y'all in the 3s.
No, we ain't in the 3. 100, we did episode 109. I guess episode 1, based on the time we record this, we did episode 109 most recently.
I got you.
But yeah.
Do you? So you make your decisions very matter of fact, right? Like you pretty much are like, I'm gonna do engineering. It's engineering. Podcast. Let's do the podcast. Turo. Let's do the Turo. Did at any time did you ever get to a place in your career, like the question that your mentor asked you? Like, hey, so how long are you gonna be an engineer? That would have sent me on like a 30-day reflection. Like, what do I want to do? Why did I spend my whole life being an like? For me, I would have been like soul searching. Did you ever get to a place where you didn't know what you were gonna do with yourself?
I mean, I always felt like I didn't know what I wanted to do. To be honest, like I said, I didn't know what I wanted to do, what I wanted to be. I always said engineer, but I had no certainty with it. So I just knew I was going to stumble into it. But as far as it being where I was meant to be, I never believed it. And I just kept going because I didn't know where else to go, really.
Okay.
That's really how I felt in that time. I may have looked very different from the outside.
Yeah.
But me internally, that's how I felt more so. Like, I'm going down this path. I can be good at a lot of stuff, but it doesn't mean that this is necessarily where I want to be or where I think I'm meant to be. And so I guess to answer that question, like there was a lot of uncertainty as far as like me being in there long term, like not knowing this is something that I was meant for. And also last year, like I said, I was trying to start 10 different businesses at one time because I think as a beginning entrepreneur, everybody may go through that because you haven't experienced any of this before. Like I said, you need experiences to help you help tell yourself where do you want to end up at.
Yeah.
And if I see trucking for the first time, along with rental cars, along with vending machines, I haven't experienced any of that before. So I'm gonna go try stuff out and figure out what I do and don't like. And once I find something that I like, something that I can see myself building and scaling, that's when I have more clarity to start going more in depth into it.
Facts. Yeah. One of the months, I think it was February. Well, February or January or February was like Millionaire Month.
Oh yeah.
And then the month after Millionaire Month, I believe it was like the Opportunity Zone.
I remember the Opportunity Zone. Yes, that was a good one.
The reason I remember it so vividly is because I think it helped me not get squirrel syndrome. He was like, know what it is that you want. Like, write down what it is that you're looking for, looking to do. What do you want to learn? Because it's going to be so many people who show you like cool things and you don't want to like just take on to everything. So for me, I feel like that month saved me from that phase that you're talking about. But I also, because of the person that I am, I like to explore things. I'm like, it would have been kind of cool to have like t-shirt brand, trucking brand, just because it's interesting. I'm the type of person that'll say like, I learn from people. I learn from
others' mistakes in a way.
First, I learn from my own mistakes.
Yeah.
But because I'm a younger sibling, I learn from my brother's mistakes, right? But that month really like helped me not do that. I was like, I'm not gonna do a t-shirt brand. I'm not gonna do any of this other stuff. I'm gonna just stay to coaching and I'm just gonna do that. What was your like most impactful moment in the morning meetup?
It's been a lot of impactful moments, first of all.
Just growth after growth after growth. Right?
I'm gonna say it wasn't the morning meetup. It's for you. If you're talking about most impactful, there's no day that's more impactful than February 28th. That's the first time I went to the content creation boot camp. So the morning meetup, Dave was mentioning how he's hosting a boot camp. He actually mentioned the first one back in January. I didn't go to that one because, like I said, I was living with my parents, also with my two younger sisters, and COVID was rampant. It had no vaccine, and I didn't want to be the one that brings COVID into my family household.
Yeah.
So I missed the first boot camp, and Dave was hosting another one, February 28th. My dad was like, man, go. I don't care what your mom say. Don't care what your sisters say. Go. He knows how much like the morning meetup had meant to me by that moment. And he says that this is opportunity that's not going to be here forever. Go.
Yeah.
Best decision of my life. Because that day, what I was learning about myself was that I had a lot of knowledge. I pretty much had a gift that I was not sharing with the world because of my personal fear of like public speaking, my personal fear of rejection, personal fear of not being an expert in my field or like what people may think or may see, like especially with stuttering. Like I stutter all the time, especially like, and I think my worst experience was probably in college. Was that I don't know why, but like I couldn't even talk to my friends. Because I would always I think it had a lot to do with confidence. So it really just comes with confidence and what I'm saying and knowing that it's going to help somebody out. And that day, the conversation wasn't even about that, but that's what I took away from it that day. And that is what, like, if you look at my personal Instagram page from February 28th and above versus February 28th and below, it's completely different.
Yeah.
Completely. And you will see that transformation. I'm not going to delete nothing from before then because I want people to see that there was a transformation that occurred between who I was before versus who I am today.
Yeah.
And that shows people that I'm just a person.
Yeah.
Going through personal development, just going through life, that allowed me to be able to grow to who I am today. You don't just, you're not just born that way. Some people may be, but not it wasn't me. That's not my story.
Yeah.
And so February 28th, most impactful day of my life. That's the content creation boot camp. I remember on March 1st was when I wrote that first post about like the content creation boot camp. I was in the airport, getting ready to fly back to Houston. I'm telling you, I just broke down.
Thank you so much for watching the Work and Play podcast. This episode is sponsored by the Boss Up Conference, which is a community for entrepreneurs, CEOs, celebrities, and corporate executives to come together, network, and solve some problems. Thank y'all so much for being supporters of the Work and Play podcast. And thank you for watching the Work and Play podcast and all the episodes before. Now let's get back to the episode.
In the airport, as I was writing the post down, because I was like, this is me finding my purpose. I'm seeing where God is leading me to, because I know that the person I am today moving forward is not who I was yesterday.
Yeah.
And that's what that day meant for me.
That's amazing. I can see that you're a totally different person by some of the funnier reels you do. Like your personality comes out a lot more. I don't know if I was captured before, but I know that I'm captured now. So I'm like, yo, yeah, I can definitely see you stepping from behind, like whatever that veil was, and stepping into a whole nother you. So in the vein of like growth, right? If you were to close your eyes, you might not have to close your eyes for it, but you know, this was only one level of growth for us, right? And I say us because I was right along with you. If you look at mine before the content creation book,
exactly.
I was throwing up a couple of just, you know, pieces that I just wasn't sure what I was going to do. But when you think about growth for yourself, right? There's a whole other person that you've never met before.
Man, I'm excited to meet that guy.
Yeah. If you were to manifest, are you big on manifesting?
Yes, so it's a fine line for me. I'm like, continue to do the action. Like, I'm in a mix right now. I'm in a mixed state because, like I said, with the revenue goals versus activity goals, I've always been the person that just does the activity and ends up somewhere.
Right.
Like just with engineering, I was doing activity and I end up as a mechanical design engineer, as opposed to saying this is where I want to get to, and I need to backtrack what I need to be doing today to achieve that goal by whatever day I set it for. Yeah. So I'm really in that in-between zone, because before I would always say, I'm doing what I need to do right now, and the person I'm going to become is going to result in the activity I'm doing today.
Facts.
But
so you're kind of telling me, not really.
Yeah,
you're kind of like me.
It's that middle zone.
Yeah. The logical side of your mind.
Very much logical.
Yeah.
It's very much so.
And manifestation is not as logical. So what I will say is, the way I see it, you know, you growing from stuttering and now being on reels and being more jovial with things. If we were to extrapolate that, right? Let's talk logic forecast, right? Let's talk a logical forecast, right? And if I were to extrapolate that growth, it's like, I can see you standing up on a stage, speaking like with so much more power, and just like, let me tell you about the day where, and that's a whole nother Marlon. Yeah. I mean, like, I feel like that's a whole nother Marlon, but you know, this is a logical forecast.
I love it. You trying to put it like that. Trying to make, like, let me cater to your brain, Mr. Logical person.
But this is my brain too, I promise you. My coach, she literally, she might say, we might be talking about something, and she'll say, how does that feel? And I'd be like, well, I think da 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 da. She's like, no.
Just give me the feeling.
Not
the logic.
And I'll be like, Well, so I'm the same way, actually. So that's why I resonate with it.
For sure.
So I truly believe that with the past data that we have about your life, and then the current change that we're seeing in your life right now, I think it's fair to say that you might actually like have like some motivational speaking up in there, something.
So I've always been inspired by motivational speaking. Like, I remember listening to E.T. back when I was in high school. I used to listen to his how bad do you want it? Like, if you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe. I listen to that every single game day, every single one. Didn't miss not one, all through college. Always had that listened to. So I remember listening to him all the time, and I was like, bro, I love this. That's something that I would love to be able to be doing that one day.
Yeah.
And I mean, back then I definitely wasn't that person. I wasn't about to talk in front of nobody, but it always was something that definitely interests me, because I think that allows people to believe more for themselves. And like, I guess the personality, the crazy thing is that I think I've always had that personality, but I did not have it in social settings. So like, as an introvert, I would always be very, very dramatic. And so now what I'm doing on my page now is showing the same personality that I've always had, but just to a larger audience.
Exactly.
And so it's not like I'm really, I haven't changed in my perspective, but for everybody else who's seeing me from the outside, they're like, oh, wow. Like, I've actually had one of my, my college teammates, he had said, bro, I'm seeing a side of you that I never even saw back when I was in college with you for 4 years. I'm like, yeah, that's definitely factual, because I never showed that externally. But me being dramatic, I'm very dramatic all the time. Like, as far as me within myself or with my family.
Yeah.
But like, the outside world may not see that until, like, I guess more recently, now you actually see that side of me.
Yeah. And we will see more.
Very much more. Yeah. So as I get more comfortable, it's going to continue to scale as well. So that's one of my biggest goals, like, to start being on stages and being able to share my message and be able to, like I said, to motivate people to do more for themselves and dream bigger for themselves.
Yeah.
I guess one more thing is that my podcast co-host, he said that he was talking to, like, one of his sister's friends, and he had said something so profound to me. He said, he said something to him, to my podcast co-host. He was like, y'all are crazy, bro. Y'all actually go after y'all dreams. And I'm like, you're not supposed to do that? It's like, y'all actually pursue y'all dreams. And that's what I wish people would stop thinking like that. So I think they have to almost be given permission to want more for their life, rather than just accepting whatever life gives them, like pursuing more and not thinking that it's a bad thing to want more for your life. So if I can have any message that I can just continue to portray to people, it's going to be that. And that's where I think that I can really be able to impact the world through the, like, talking on stages and speaking to more people.
Yeah. So in that vein, and I really have enjoyed getting to know you on a different level. You know what I mean? Like, one, we get to sit on the couch together. Two, I get to ask you, like, who's the man behind the notes? You know, like, you, in the fact, also, well, you know what? There's so much more. But as it relates to your motivational speaking journey, sometimes I think about motivational speaking and I think about some of the greats who have, like, these crazy stories, like these, you know, E.T. eating out of the trash can, right?
Yeah.
But then, and we hear your story, and, you know, one might look at it and be like, oh, this man had it made from the jump, you know, went from one cool thing to the next.
Right.
Even hearing your story overcoming stuttering, that's a huge feat. But even still, sometimes, like, trash can stuttering, like, people comparing, like, you know, even myself, I go, have I lived a hard enough life? But I remember CJ, E.T.'s mentor, saying, like, you don't have to have this, like, crazy story in order to reach the souls and hearts and minds of people who need to change or who seek that freedom or whatever. So if you were to talk through, I know you said, you know, the message that you would read, that you would always run with, is like that freedom. When you think about your story, like, and you envision standing on stage, what are those heart-wrenching, gut-punching things that like, you don't know the half of Marlon Walls? Like, what are those things for you?
You have some great questions. So I'll start off there. But I already told the one part of me going through my entire journey of getting into engineering and not really knowing that, or not even believing that was, like, my destination, like where God wanted me to go, just going there just on the sake of pleasing everybody else. To when somebody says, what do you want to be when you grow up? Just picking engineering because everybody else thought it was sounding cool. That was one thing. But more importantly, I would say, understand that I was a person that was, like I said, a 4.0 student for 7 semesters in a row in college. Even though, so people at college saw me as like this larger than life figure, knew everything about everything, come to me for psychology, come to me for history, come to me for English. Like he know it all. I didn't, but that was perception. Also on a football team, started for like 2.5 years there. So they put me on billboards, they put me in magazines all around the school, on the campus, everywhere. They say, bro, be like Marlon. That's the guy to be like. Like if there's a model student, model athlete, be like him. All right, so that's my college experience. Get out into the real world. That's, like I said, I started my corporate America job in January of 2018, and 2 weeks into working, you get this thing called a paycheck. That paycheck, this is my first full-time job paycheck. Never had a full-time job before in my life because I was always playing football every summer, every winter, every fall break, everything. So never had a job before. During that paycheck, you get these things. You have a gross pay, you have a net pay. Didn't know what those two were. So I saw gross pay. I'm like, oh, that's a nice check right there. It's an engineering check. See, I knew I was in the right field. It worked out after all. It was a direct deposit though that I got into my account. So when I got into work later that day, I saw gross pay, but in my check, direct deposit was net pay. So I started looking into it. I'm like, yo, hold on a second. Why are these two numbers so far off? Like, what happened between that top number and that bottom number? So now I'm starting to investigate. Like, all right, let's look through this pay stub. Fed has a big number attached to it. Then there's state, another number, okay. OASDI, another number. What was that? Med, another number. Okay, those things right there, that took my money away right there. I got it now. Okay, I'm pissed though. So I called Dad. First thing I think of, call Dad. Yo, Dad, man. I don't know what happened though, but these little line items over here, they took money away from my account. I'm supposed to make this much, I make that much. So I'm trying to figure out like what happened between the two. So I see a Fed, I see state, I see all this other stuff. Why is that there? Oh man, what you talking about? You talking about taxes? Hung up the phone that day. I just like, if you ever see it in a movie where they just like shine a little spotlight on one person and they dim out the rest, that was me in that moment. I'm sitting there to myself. This guy that thought that everybody told him he knew everything. 4.0 student for 7 semesters in a row in college. People came to me thinking I knew everything. Knows absolutely nothing about life. Yeah. So do you get a false sense of security that because you are a 4.0 student mean that you're well-rounded and know everything, but you really don't know one thing really well, which is engineering. So for me, that was engineering physics. I can do that really well, but that doesn't mean you know everything. 4.0 sounds like it's cumulative. That's why people will come to me from psychology or English, ask me questions about their field. But I'm like, I don't know that. But now I also don't know about the general life skills. I don't know about taxes. I also don't know about, you understand, we got into real estate in 2020. No, not 2020, but 2018. After this whole story about that, the only time I ever heard of the word real estate was through SpongeBob.
What episode was that?
Episode of Karate Island.
Oh my God.
When they talked about buying real estate, a timeshare at the end of the episode.
Wow.
Only time I ever heard the word real estate before.
Okay.
So that shows you how little I knew about any of the world of life outside of engineering. And if I can go learn everything from scratch, I'm talking about base zero, know absolutely nothing. And then just say that I'm deciding, like I said, the word is decide. You have to decide in yourself that where you are today is not where you want to be in the future. It don't matter how long it takes between today and now. I'm starting today. So my podcast co-host today, like back then, this is where our journey started because he had gave me a book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, after I told him about that taxes story. He was like, man, this book talks about a lot of the stuff that we don't know. As far as like life and finance, especially in financial realm, talks about a lot of that stuff. I hadn't read a book since 8th grade. I got that book the next day. I went to Barnes & Noble. Barnes & Noble said, welcome, we have never seen you before. So Walk in there, just like, wow, this is a crazy place. I said, I have a book I want to read called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Oh, yeah, that's a good one. I've heard that one before. Got that book, read the book in 2 days. Hadn't read a book since 8th grade though. After that is where the whole deciding factors, the whole decision of I'm changing, that's where it really happened.
Yeah.
Because now I'm like, okay, there's a whole new way of life that we don't know about, and I want to start in that pursuit. Yeah. So but I didn't even realize how impactful or how much of a catalyst that was for everything. Because I was at work saying, hey, I got this new book. I got Rich Dad Poor Dad. I heard a couple people say, oh yeah, I read that book before. That was a pretty cool book. I'm like, well, y'all weren't impacted the same way. I don't know. Y'all reading the same book? Cause
Facts. Ain't that crazy?
Yeah, because I'm like, I know I read that, and I'm about to be out of here soon.
Exactly. It's like, I hear you, and I see your motivational speech, because I was that person who, 25 years old, had the whole condo, car paid off, I love Neo's Miss Independent, like the whole thing. And I was like, yo, I didn't know all this existed out here. Never knew about homelessness, never knew about volunteering, never knew about like things that existed outside of my little cocoon.
Yep.
And as soon as I started listening to like Les Brown and things like that, you're like, oh, how can you be okay with living life like this? So I can see exactly who you're speaking to, what you're speaking about. That's extremely powerful. And to be able to say that to people who don't even realize they're not living life.
Yep.
It's going to wake somebody up. Because we out here, especially when you go straight from college to corporate and you start making 6 figures or close to it, without ever touching your feet on the ground. It's like when we're babies, and like when you're a lap baby and they just like, they never have to crawl anywhere.
Right.
So it takes them a little longer to walk because people always want to pick the baby up. It's like you go from security to security to security. So I think that's a powerful, powerful message.
Yeah. So I forgot. I wanted to say something on that because understand that's what it was, is that I had to learn that, first of all, this is one of the sermons I give to my mom all the time now, because she is somebody who's notorious for saying, oh, I already know that. She loves saying I already know something. Like that's almost like a habit of saying I already know. I told her one time, I said, no, you have an idea of what something is like, but you don't really know the details of it. So that at least allows you to stop not seeking information, and now you are going to become a seeker of new information, and you become a student all over again. Most people stop learning once they graduate college or once they graduate high school, and if they don't go to college.
Yeah.
So now they just pretty much have plateaued on how much they can grow personally, like the personal development.
Hey guys, it's Ariel from the Work and Play podcast. If you're getting any value from this channel, and I mean anything from the tutorials to the podcast to the random videos that you see on this channel, then I just ask that you do one thing. Please subscribe and share this to anyone that you think this resonates with, and drop a comment below so I know what other things that you want to see next. Now let's get back to the episode.
They were plateaued because they stopped seeking education. I became a eternal student from the moment that I realized I didn't know about those taxes. I was like, bro, there's no limit to how much I don't know.
Yeah.
And I can continue to learn each and every day. So I need to continue to surround myself with mentorship in some type of form, whether it's in books, whether it's in podcasts, whether it's through people, whether it's through webinars. Something can pour into me to learn something new. Even though I was the 4.0 student that people thought knew everything. Yeah. I know nothing.
Yeah. That's amazing. So the last thing I'm curious about in this phase, right, where we're talking about learning about life, 4.0, so you're super self-sufficient, smart, capable, and you're learning about taxes, you're reading, you're growing, you're challenging yourself to branch out, you're going into entrepreneurship. Personally, right, socially, we get a glimpse of your personal life and that you have a lady. And I feel like dating and finding a partner, right, is one of those things that challenges us as people to look at ourselves and grow as people. So one of the last things I'm really curious about is, as you learn about yourself and as you grow and as you challenge yourself, what are the pros and share cons, if you have any, of like having a spouse in this space of entrepreneurship where you're growing as an individual, but then you're also growing alongside someone?
Like I said, great questions after great questions. Pros is that you always have somebody that is rooting you on. Mm-hmm. I would say that's probably one of the biggest things, is that there's not every day is not a great day. As far as every day is not as great as the day before. Some days you may have a low someday. So it's great to have a backbone that supports you no matter what. Mm-hmm. And it's great to have somebody that you can go to, especially with my lady. Like I would say that she has the mentality of like Dave Carnegie, like the How to Win Friends and Influence People. And just having like an entrepreneurial mentality, I think she has that innately versus myself, who had to learn everything.
Got it.
And so I can go to her and ask for guidance in something, and she would be very knowledgeable about like how to help, and just saying like rein it in. Like, it's not going to be like this forever. Just think about like the purpose, think about like where you're going and stuff, and just understand that it's like a little small obstacle. So big pros to like me being able to lean to her in those moments of uncertainty. Mm-hmm. A con is that we started dating in high school.
Got you.
And so that's we've actually been together like 8 years now. Mm-hmm. And so now you have to understand that you're growing together, but you're also experiencing different things, and that means your interests may change as well. So as far as like what you're interested in versus what she's interested in, mm-hmm. and you have to find a way to continue to kindle your fire together despite growing in maybe different directions. But we're both, I would say for us, we're very fortunate because we both have a mentality of like pursuing our dreams and like growing. But there's people that have the exact opposite case, where somebody the one person may like security, and one person may have found entrepreneurship now and mm-hmm. started going in a whole different route. Mm-hmm. And so if you have that case, it may not be as fortunate as like ours, where we can continue to grow together. Mm-hmm. Y'all may start to grow apart. Mm-hmm. And so that would be one big challenge. And I would say another, especially with entrepreneurship, the other biggest challenge is trying to find time to balance both that work and life balance, especially in the beginning. Mm-hmm. Because as you know, in entrepreneurship, it's a full time. It's not 9 to 5. It's wake up to go to bed.
Pretty much so, like 9 to 9, 9 to 1, 9 to.
Yeah. So exactly. Yeah. And so and now you have to build in that time to say, if this is important to you, like as far as that relationship, you have to build in time for it. Yeah. And so you have to be very intentional about it. And a lot of people will overlook that, and that's why they will end up divorced. Mm-hmm. Or that's why they will end up like in unhappy relationships, because they focus so much in one area that they neglected another.
Facts. You summed that up really well. For a lot of us who are out here, still working on our journey in entrepreneurship, and so wanting to find a soulmate in this space, I think the entrepreneurial spirit fuels some relationships and it kills some relationships. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's just something to also consider as we learn more about ourselves. Like for me, dating was one of those things that was like, I don't think I've had a boyfriend. I've just been living my little corporate life, and as soon as I quit my job, I ended up getting a boyfriend. I was just like, we're going to see what this is like.
First time for everything.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
It was just like a culture shock for you as far as like your day-to-day living, because it's like, I haven't involved another person in my life now.
Facts.
Hold on a second.
Yeah, for real. Like to have to consider if somebody's eating, to call somebody or check in.
It's a different way of living.
You just like, and as an entrepreneur, working is a new way of life. Mm-hmm. So to have someone who respects that is also cool.
That's so big, man. Like I'm very fortunate to have the person I have.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that she is understanding, mm-hmm. and she, like I said, she's supportive regardless of like how much time I'm putting in. Like she understands the bigger picture. Yeah. I'm telling you, it's like innate for her versus myself. If the roles were reversed, perfect example, I might not have done as well as like if she was the one pursuing it and I was the one that was just in corporate. Mm-hmm. I think it would be different, because I had to become the person that has the mentality I have today. Like I said, she was more so born like that way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So different growth journeys.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Marlon, I have really enjoyed getting to know you on the couch today. It was like, I'm glad we seized the moment.
Yes, exactly. I think that's why I always capitalize on opportunities, because that window of opportunity is short. Just capitalize on it. I don't care what time it is.
Right. Facts. Listen, so
I might care a little bit after seeing it.
Okay, so with that being said, if there's someone out there, well, first of all, thank y'all for watching, right?
For sure.
For one, I know you guys enjoyed Marlon's story, as well as why you're curious about how you can actually work with him. So if there's someone who's watching, they want to learn a little bit more about your journey, or they want to know how they can get connected with you, work with you, or become a client, how can they reach out to you?
So yeah, if anybody wants to just follow me on Instagram like that, our main platform is Instagram. So whether you're following me for my personal page, it's Deuce Walls, DEUCEWALLS. Or if you can follow the podcast if you want to just learn about like what we teach in financial literacy and business development. That's Money Monopolizers, MONEYMONOPOLIZERS. If you want to tap into the rental car space and you want to start scaling that way, we actually do teaching with that. So you can tap into our course or masterclass if we have one that's currently going on. That's going to be through Rebus. That's REBUS, rebusrentalcars.com/course. Or you can just tap into our shorter ebook, which is 10 ways on how to automate your rental car business by going to rebusrentalcars.com/ebook.
Perfect. And for those of you guys who didn't take notes, I'm going to have all of that in the description below, so you can go ahead and click the link below so you can tap into that course. All right?
That's it.
Well, thank you so much, Marlon, for joining us.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been awesome. And thank y'all again for watching. And until next week, we will see y'all later. Peace.